So, when you use the word sabotage, I think about this old Mad magazine where there was the guy in white that was the good guy and the guy in black, that was the bad guy. And the bad guy was always trying to sabotage, the good guy. Trying to blow things up oftentimes. So why do we get into that pattern? We're both, the good guy and the bad guy, whichever way you want to put it, and we're always trying to blow things up. And it goes way back, of course. It goes back to what it is that we're uncomfortable with. And the things that we're uncomfortable with go all the way back to when we're very little. Patterns of self-sabotage begin when we're really little. Where we don't have the tools to know how to protect ourselves. And so we begin using patterns that actually manipulate other people. Now, I'm not saying that in a negative kind of way, because children need to know how to, quote unquote, manipulate their parents so that they can tell them when they're afraid, when they're, hungry, whatever. You can talk about a little baby crying because it needs to eat. That's a mechanism that gets set up to get attention and to get one's needs met. The problem becomes when we take it into our adulthood and we no longer understand that what we're trying to do is to get our needs met. We end up feeling as if we're not just trying to get food, originally mother's milk or cow's milk or however it was, soy milk. But now, for somehow, some way, we think that we need X, Y, and Z. We need a great banquet, I always want to have, I eat a lot of rice and beans, I always want rice and beans, I want this and that. I want it the way I want it. And so, when things don't go the way that we want them, we end up oftentimes sabotaging the situation because we're not getting what we need. Now, that sounds a little bit counterintuitive because we generally would think, well, if I'm not getting what I need, then I'll just advocate for more in sort of a reasonable way, and then I'll be able to get what I need. First of all, you probably don't know what you need. But number two, how many of us are that, quote-unquote, grown up, that we're just going to, with our critical thinking mind, advocate for what we need and everything's going to be all groovy. I'm 1,000,000 years old, and I don't know anyone who's old enough to do that successfully. Primarily because it doesn't come from your critical thinking brain anyway. That sense of what you need is coming from your deeper self. It's coming from your young self. It's coming from your lower brain. And so the best ways to begin to change that for yourself is, number one, to realize that where you sabotage from is not from your critical thinking brain. You can go over and over the situation 1,000,000 times with yourself, with your friends. You can write to columnists in the newspaper, ask questions. You can read all the books. But it's not going to come from your critical thinking brain. It's going to come from your lower brain. It's going to come from your child. And so, as you begin to realize that, then you can at least stop trying to solve it with your critical thinking brain. Then allow yourself to go back to that child within you and begin to see and feel what that child needs. If you do that quiet space on your own, or sitting with someone else who can help you, you begin to realize that again it comes down to those core emotions. Fear, anger, tribal love, the need for tribe, disgust. Why disgust? Well, growing up on the wild, you have to know what to eat or what not to eat. And so there's these core emotions that are built into your lower brain. And they, if they are not satisfied, threatens your survival. Certainly threatens your ability to thrive. And so you can learn more about those core emotions. There's generally, they talk about 5 core emotions. There's much more that they can branch off into. It's a good thing to educate yourself on. And it's a good thing to be able to know that something that you're feeling as an adult that then makes you want to go and do something to make it better in a way that you can identify of actually sabotaging the situation. That comes from a very young part of yourself. And begin to understand how to go and sit with that part of yourself. Hold it. Parent it as you can now as an adult. I'm not saying any of this is easy, but it's certainly a lot easier than continuing this pattern of always blowing things up.